And I'm going to go ahead to my downloads, and I'm going to go ahead to my project folder, which we talked about last time. And because I'm organized, I should be able to find the one that I want to use pretty easily. So where would I store these? Original scans. They're the original scans of what I'm working on. So I want to make sure that I keep that original bit around. So I'm going to go ahead and, do I want to replace that one? No, let's keep both because I might like my other scan better. So now I've got all of these in here. This is the one that I had originally, so I can tell that by the date. And this is the one that I just did today. So I have all of those originals here by which I can work. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come into Photoshop, and I can either go to File, Open, and navigate my way out to that. So let's just do it that way. Let's go to our original scans, and let's start with Lady Small. So Lady Small has a few things going on. First of all, lots of different ways to do this, but I know that I want to transform this little friend. So why am I losing it? Oh, there we go. So I could go arbitrarily. I could say that I want to do this clockwise 45 degrees. And I can be pretty accurate with doing that. I can also come in here and really crop her down at this point. And this will help me, right? If I only want it to go from here to here, again, my goal is to keep the size of this pretty small. And if I go to, if I select her and I go to Edit, Transform, I can also just rotate her arbitrarily. So I can just grab that part of the layer and I can get her to be straight within this layer. And again, I'm not going to be lazy about this. I'm going to be really hyper vigilant because if there's anything I can't stand, it's waiting for things to render. So I'm going to just go right in here and I'm going to get her like as cropped in as I possibly can. So I have the edge of that because I'll probably cut part of that off anyway because I don't like how that looks. So I'm going to keep just what I need for her. And that's my Lady Small. I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to Save As. And I'm going to save that into my edited folder so I have that to work with. So we'll go into corrected or edited folder. We'll save that. LZW, yes. IBM, it'll work everywhere, yes. Click OK. Click on Save. Let's go ahead and make this the right size now. So this is my Lady Small. And so I need Lady Small to be, I think we said about 3 inches tall. So I scanned it in at this resolution. When resampling is on, you're going to notice that when I switch this to 300, the height and everything stays exactly the same. All right? When resampling is off, and I change this to 300, you're going to notice that my height adjusts to just about exactly what I need it to be. So you're actually saving any pixel interpolation at all from happening. All right? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say OK, and we're going to go ahead and say Save. Now, lots of different ways I can bring this in. I showed you using the pen tool last time. If I'm not worried about getting her exactly right, I just want like her basic essence, I could just use my direct selection tool like that, which is going to give me mostly what I want. Notice I selected the white area. So if I want to bring her over, I'm going to go to Select Inverse. And now it's selecting her. I'm going to go to Edit, Copy. I'm going to go back into this document, and I'm going to go to Edit, Paste. And it's going to tell me that I'm pasting into a different profile. I'm going to say OK. And you'll notice that she goes in there at her best pixel like possibility right about at the height I wanted her to be. So I don't have to scale her too much at all. Okay? So let's go ahead and turn this layer of the ground off, and let's open the ground layer. We're going to do the same thing there. We're going to open our ground copy from today. And I've already got it cropped down pretty good, but again, I'm going to be super vigilant, and I'm going to come right in and keep this file just as small as I possibly can. If I want to come in here and I want to adjust it a little bit, I can adjust my levels to get a bit more intensity in this original file. I can click on OK. I'm going to go to Image, Image Size. I'm going to leave resampling off, and I'm going to switch this to my target resolution, which is going to give me a width of about 15 inches. And if you remember, I said I added a little extra to give me that wiggle room, so that looks right. I'm going to click on OK, and I'm going to go to File, Save As, and I'm going to go ahead and save that into my corrected. LZW, IBM, click OK. Now I could do the same thing here if I want. If I don't need all this extra stuff on the outside, this gives me a good way to show you kind of tolerance. If my tolerance is set to 32%, tolerance is looking at the number of pixels it will pick up. All right, so if I increase my tolerance, let's increase it just to 40%. And I click on that same spot, do you notice that it starts to cut into some of those other areas? So the higher your tolerance, the more light colored pixels you will pick up. All right, so if I want to pick up even more across that top, I might increase it to 55. And you'll notice that it starts to add to that selection. So the higher the tolerance, the more light colored pixels. So instead of just grabbing white, it's now grabbing white and some gray. If I set it even higher, let's set it to 70, and I hold down my shift, it will grab even more within that color range. All right, so it's a good way to grab things kind of quickly. I'm going to go to Select Inverse because, again, I want to select just the part that I need. And I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to go to Copy, and I'm going to go to my Alice, and I'm going to go to Paste, and I'm going to paste this into my document, and I'm going to say OK, and it gives me what I want to work from. And then I can come through and edit and change it however I want that to be. And if I have to scale it up or down a little, I'm not going to use a tremendous amount of quality. But if I go back to this layer, which is Little Lady, and I move Little Lady to the front, and let's duplicate Little Lady. So if I want to duplicate this, I just come up here and go to Duplicate Layer, say OK. I'm going to grab Little Lady. I'm going to go Edit, Transform, Rotate. I'm going to rotate her around, and then I'm going to go ahead and go to Edit, Transform, Scale, and I'm going to blow her up. Right? That's probably over here, maybe. Ish. Can you see the difference? That's lazy. That's not planned, that's lazy, right? You're graphic designers. People hire you because your Photoshop looks like this, not like this. Okay? So if you don't understand it, ask me to help you, right? Because having that clarity is so, so, so important. She looks great down here. The same thing would happen if we did this in reverse. So having them be accurate in the percentage that you want them in is really quite important. When you shrink stuff down, it gets muddy. When you expand it out, it gets pixelated. If you own this, your image is going to be more realistic. All right? So once I have these in here, we talked about using the clipping mask. One thing that I wanted to go over, I am not a huge fan, and probably because I'm like an older generation, of all the fancy eraser stuff that happens. Though I do think that there are times when it's very helpful. So I just want to go over 2 tips with using the eraser tool. First of all, if I'm going to do an edge kind of like this, I've got a couple of options. I can use that selection tool that we talked about, and I can go to this layer and I can select, notice it's set to 70, it selects every possible little thing. 32 is the default, so it's always a good place to start. So you may find that for getting this original edge away, that's a good way to delete some of that information. But when you get into some of these areas down here, you might want to kind of take it into your own hands and kind of smooth out some of those relationships. So I like to personally use a soft-edged eraser tool. And the reason for that is you'll see that that soft-edged eraser tool will give me that nice pixeled edge that happens sort of naturally when I scan this thing in, right? So I can come along this and I can clean that up. Now, if I want to get out a whole bunch of things at once, I can use my open bracket and sweep that all out at once, right? I don't even change the size of my brush. In that case, I just go to there. And then I can keep moving this over. And you can see even where I cut it, it gets kind of jaggy just from having that other tool. Just the way that it selects it can be a little bit jagged. And so I can come in here and I can start to just clean this up based on that information. Now, some of the stuff out here, that might be a lot of back and forth, like carpal tunnel waiting to happen. So you could just, select that independently. But for this edgy stuff, if you take just a minute to kind of clean up those edges, you're going to find that you have a much more natural, you don't want it too diffused, but you're going to find that you have a much more natural looking edge as you move away from it than where it was kind of hard edged. Now, where the background eraser can be helpful, but you have to be, you have to figure out what works for you. Whoops. Wow, I did not want to do that. Let's work in this section right here. So there's a lot of fibers in there. Some of them, when it's that small, I'm not going to see at all. Some of them I might still want to see, like maybe this fiber here I still want to see. So I could, in some cases, go right into there and make this as small as I possibly want it to be and do a little work like that, right? Then blow this up a little bit and erase out the rest of that section. So that would be an option. I would for sure not take the time of using a pen tool here to draw all of these little shapes, right? But in an area up here where you have maybe a bit more contrast happening, you can also use that background eraser tool. And so if you option select what you're trying to keep, the colors that you're trying to keep, so I option select this and then this, then it should go right into that section and clean that out, all right? But you still have to be aware of the type of brush you're using. Let's zoom in so that you can actually see how ugly that is. So let's undo that. And instead, let's diffuse that. So let's make this a bit softer. It looks like what?
Like a salad.
Like a salad. It does look like a salad, right? So this will help me to kind of cut some of that out. And you'll notice that what it's doing is it's just restricting the softness to the edge of where those green colors. So it's the same idea as before, where it's actually using this, just it's giving you that little extra help to clean up those edges, right? So that's where that's helpful. Now, for me, I feel like all of that detail and doing all of those things for me seems to take a longer time, and probably because I have, 20 some years of experience doing it my way, right? So you really need to find the path that works for you. Right? What's going to give you the best end result? And you can kind of clean that up and zoom it out and zoom it in and then clean all around those areas. And I find that I can come in here kind of quick and do basically what I want to do and then zoom into a section. And I know I'm kind of nuts, so I kind of enjoy like zooming in and cleaning up those edges. There's something, like my mom likes to clean houses. I like to clean up stuff in Photoshop this way. It like makes me, I don't know, makes me happy, right? So just different ways of kind of dividing that information out and being able to pick when those methods are most effective. So again, if I want to work on Little Lady, I'm going to come into this section here, and to do my initial cleanup on Little Lady, I'd probably just do one of these. And I'm just using my shift key and moving around to kind of add to that selection. Or if I let go of it, it'll just grab it all at once. And so I can come through here pretty quickly and start to cut out some of those sections as long as I am cognizant of what I'm trying to accomplish pretty quickly. All right, and then I can go into the areas that I need to. Like up in here, and I can say deselect so it doesn't select any of it, and I can go ahead in here and I can zoom out on that eraser and I can use that to just kind of come in here and clean that up. And then I get the nice edges that I want to get, and I clean up some of the extra garbage that's there, and everybody's happy. All right. Anything else that you have a question about right now in Photoshop? All right. So the next 2 classes for sure, possibly more, will be all work times. So I'll just expect that when you come to class, you just get set up and get going. We'll use the same way that we've done things before.